What if the man who famously saved the world on screen was now facing a reality he couldn't even recognize? We have all followed the timeline of Bruce Willis's health journey for years, but a recent, heartbreaking shift in his condition has forced his family to share the one update we have been fearing most. For decades, Bruce Willis was the ultimate archetype of the fast-talking, smirk-wearing, indestructible American hero. He was the guy who could shrug off broken glass, trade sharp-tongued barbs with international terrorists, and somehow look incredibly cool while doing it. From the rapid-fire banter of his breakthrough television role in Moonlighting to the sweat-stained, gritty survival of John McClane in Die Hard, Bruce was the blueprint of a man who simply could not be broken. But real life does not follow a Hollywood script, and there are no stunt doubles for the relentless march of a neurological disease. Today, the battle Bruce is fighting is not unfolding on a cinematic set, but behind the closed doors of his home, deep within the intricate networks of his own brain. As his family has navigated this agonizing transition, the public has watched with a mixture of profound sadness and deep respect, realizing that the global icon who once defined absolute resilience is now navigating a world where words themselves have become a distant, unreachable shore. To understand why this development has touched the hearts of millions across the globe, we have to look closely at the phenomenon of parasocial grief. We feel an immense, deeply personal connection to Bruce because his films served as the soundtrack and visual backdrop to our lives. He was the protector in The Sixth Sense, the visionary in Unbreakable, and the rough-around-the-edges father figure in Armageddon. When someone of his stature begins to slip away from the public eye, it forces us to confront our own fragility, the passing of time, and the reality that even our childhood heroes are subject to the delicate laws of biology. This is why the search for updates on his condition has not slowed down. Rather, it has transformed into a high-intent, emotional search for understanding. We are not just looking for news, we are looking for a way to process the loss of an era. The transition from a charismatic, physically demanding acting career to a quiet, medically assisted retirement has been both swift and incredibly jarring. What started as subtle, quiet whispers on independent movie sets eventually grew into a public retirement announcement, culminating in a medical diagnosis that has fundamentally rewritten the rules of how his family, his friends, and his global fan base interact with his legacy. The decline was not a sudden cliff, but a slow, creeping shadow that began years before the public ever knew the truth. Looking back at his final years in the film industry, the breadcrumbs of this health crisis were scattered across his work. As early as June 2020, during the production of the low-budget action film Out of Death, the warning signs were already flashing red. The film's director, Mike Burns, had to send an urgent email to the screenwriters, demanding that Bruce's dialogue pages be cut significantly and that any complex monologues be eliminated entirely. He realized that Bruce was struggling to comprehend and deliver his lines. Between 2020 and 2022, Bruce starred in dozens of direct-to-video action movies. To the casual observer and harsh internet critics, these performances seemed lazy, detached, or merely cash grabs. But behind the scenes, a tragic reality was unfolding. Bruce was struggling with severe cognitive challenges, relying on earpieces to have his lines fed to him by assistants just so he could complete his scenes. In March 2022, his family took the brave step to announce his official retirement from acting, citing a diagnosis of aphasia, a condition that impairs a person's ability to process and produce language. This was a devastating blow, but it was only the first chapter of a much more complex medical mystery. In February 2023, after further testing and a progression of his symptoms, the family released a statement clarifying that his true, underlying condition was frontotemporal dementia, specifically a variant known as primary progressive aphasia. But here is the chilling paradox that neuroscience is only now beginning to uncover. While Bruce's verbal faculties have faded into silence, an entirely different, highly sensory cognitive world may have risen to take its place. What if the silence we perceive from the outside is not an empty void, but a profoundly different way of experiencing consciousness? There is a fascinating, mind-bending medical phenomenon associated with this specific type of dementia that completely upends everything we think we know about cognitive decline. In just a moment, we will reveal the stunning reality of how the brain rewires itself during frontotemporal dementia, showing why Bruce might look right through his closest friends, yet still connect with them on a level that defies conventional science. If you believe this is just a standard story of aging, prepare to have your understanding of human connection completely turned upside down. To truly comprehend what Bruce and his family are dealing with on a daily basis, we have to examine the precise medical reality of frontotemporal dementia, or FTD. Unlike Alzheimer's disease, which typically begins by destroying short-term memory through damage to the hippocampus, FTD is a completely different beast. It primarily attacks the frontal and temporal lobes of the brain, which are the command centers for personality, social behavior, decision-making, and language. In the case of primary progressive aphasia, the temporal lobe's language centers undergo progressive atrophy. This means the individual does not simply forget the names of objects or people. They lose the actual neurological hardware required to construct thoughts into words or to translate the words they hear back into meaningful concepts. It is an incredibly isolating experience, akin to being trapped inside a room where the door handle has been completely removed. Emma Hemming Willis, who has been married to Bruce since 2009, has become an internationally recognized advocate for FTD awareness and caregiver support. In September 2025, she released her highly anticipated book, The Unexpected Journey: Finding Strength, Hope, and Yourself on the Caregiving Path. Through her writing and raw public appearances, Emma has pulled back the curtain on the immense challenges of caregiving. She has openly shared that traditional communication in their household is gone, but she insists that their emotional connection remains fiercely intact. They have had to learn to speak a silent language, utilizing touch, eye contact, and the simple, quiet comfort of being in the same room. The emotional weight of this transition extends far beyond Emma, enveloping their entire blended family. This includes their two young daughters, Mabel and Evelyn, as well as Bruce's ex-wife, Demi Moore, and their three adult daughters, Rumer, Scout, and Talula. Together, they have formed an impenetrable circle of love and protection around the actor. Navigating this journey in the public eye is a double-edged sword. On one hand, the family has to deal with a constant barrage of invasive tabloid rumors. In late 2025 and early 2026, sensationalist headlines claimed that Bruce was entirely bedridden and could no longer recognize anyone. Emma has been incredibly vocal in fighting back against this harmful speculation, urging the media to stop publishing unsourced rumors that cause unnecessary pain to those who love him. The truth is far more nuanced. While Bruce's condition is indeed progressive and serious, his daughter Rumer recently shared that he is stable and continues to experience sweet moments of connection with his family, including his young granddaughter. The family has chosen to focus on quality of life, comfort, and keeping his environment as peaceful and stimulating as possible under the care of a dedicated, specialized medical team. To put this clinical reality into perspective, we can look at the broader clinical archives of frontotemporal dementia, which contains some of the most extraordinary case studies in modern neurology. Researchers have documented that when the left hemisphere of the brain, which handles language, logic, and structure, begins to decline due to FTD, the right hemisphere can sometimes experience a sudden, explosive burst of activity. This is known as emergent creativity. Patients who have never painted, drawn, or played music in their lives have suddenly developed breathtaking artistic talents as their language skills faded. The brain, in its desperate bid to communicate, finds new, nonverbal pathways to express the soul's inner landscape. While we do not know the exact creative outlets Bruce might be exploring in his private hours, his longtime friend and the creator of Moonlighting, Glenn Gordon Caron, noted in an interview that when he visits Bruce, he can still feel the essence of the man he knew. The spark, the joy for life, and the inherent kindness are still there, even if they can no longer be voiced. It is a powerful reminder that who we are is not defined solely by our ability to speak, but by the energetic imprint we leave on the people around us. Ultimately, the story of Bruce Willis is no longer just about his spectacular box office success or his status as a cinematic legend. It has transformed into a profound narrative about the raw reality of the human condition, the power of family devotion, and the critical importance of neurological research. Bruce spent his career playing characters who could survive any physical trauma, but in his final, quietest role, he is showing us a different kind of heroism. It is the heroism of a family standing united in the face of a cruel, incurable disease, and the heroism of a man whose legacy continues to raise awareness for millions of families fighting the exact same battle in silence. As we celebrate the joy he brought to our screens, we are reminded to cherish every single moment with our loved ones, to speak the words we want to say while we still can, and to support the ongoing fight against neurodegenerative diseases. To truly understand how the human brain fights back against the most challenging diagnoses, and to discover the untold stories of other beloved icons who faced these battles away from the spotlight. You need to explore our deep dive into the hidden health struggles of Hollywood's golden era, which is linked on your screen right now.